You'll have to forgive the poor audio or the echo. I'm recording this in a room with a boom mic, so I'll re-record this later. This is just to get you up and going on ambient occlusion. So the first thing, there's two types of ambient occlusion. There's the kind that you would do for an object, and then there's the kind you would do for an enclosed object within a scene. And the settings are slightly different. So let's take a look at this table. So the first thing you want to do is you always want to pose out your object in a scene whenever you're doing AO. So something like this. And then you want to go ahead and delete the sides. And to make it a little bit easier to see, let's just turn on wireframe mode, or overlay wire. Okay, so we have our render tab here next to display, and what you can do is actually, you say you don't see this, you really want to just click on your channel box here. It'll switch between channel box and attribute editor. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a new layer on top. And what you'll notice is nothing was in the scene. And the reason is we didn't have anything selected. So I'm just going to go back, select everything, and then right-click on my new layer and go to Add Selected Objects. So now when I click up there, you can see now we have this. So I'm just going to click on this, double-click that, and just type in table, so that I remember that this attribute is, or this layer is just for this table scene. The next thing I want to do is go to Window, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and make sure that Maya to MR is checked on. Okay? So let's go ahead and pose our scene. So something like this. Now that, and I'm going to hit render to get a regular, just the default render. Okay? And once I'm pleased with that, I'm just going to save it off so you can see what it'll look like after occlusion. Then I'm going to right-click on Table and go down to Attributes. And a lot of times it doesn't pop up right away. It'll pop up to P cube. You really want to just go to Table, or whatever your render layer's name is. So this is Table. Then you want to go to Presets and turn on Occlusion. Right off the bat, your scene will turn completely black, so don't let that scare you. And then go ahead and hit Render. Now this is really grainy, so the way to kind of make it less grainy is to increase the number of samples. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 64, and I'm going to re-render it and pause the video. You can see here that it's a lot cleaner. Okay, I'm going to go back into my attribute editor by clicking there and go down to my master layer. And I'm going to select my cube inside of a cube. So this cube can represent a couch or whatever you want. And then I'm just going to add a new layer on there. And I'm going to make sure that I have these two selected. And when I go up to my layer 1, I want to make sure that these are the two that are attached. So same thing, I'm going to double click and name this room. Right click, go down to attributes, make sure I'm on the room tab. Like I said, sometimes it'll default to a different tab. We want to make sure we're on room. Same thing, presets, occlusion. Now if we go inside of our room, let's zoom out a little bit. I might scale this up just a tad bit to kind of really show you. There we go. So if I go ahead and render this, what you'll notice, let me pause the video, it's completely black. And that's because we don't have any light or rays being cast from the camera protruding this room. So let's take a look at playing around with this particular material. So what you're looking for is Surface Shader 3. And on this surface shader, if we click over once, we can actually focus on the ambient occlusion properties that are for just this surface shader. Another way of doing it is going to Window, Render Editors, Hypershade. And there's going to be two ambient occlusion boxes in there. You'll notice them here. Well, there's actually three, but what we're looking for is the ambient occlusion, which is Surface Shader 3. So you can see Surface Shader 3. And if you scroll over, you can see that. And if you double click that, it'll reopen those properties. So in order to get a nice render using our ambient occlusion here, what we want to do is really just increase the max distance. So this can be anywhere from 0.1 to 100 depending on the size of your scene. I normally just type in something like 25 just to test where it's at, and then I hit render. So you can see by entering 25 that it's no longer black and you're able to render within the scene.